Let me ask you a question. When you think about money, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Is it just cash, the number in your bank account? Or is it something more? Something that's quietly working in the background, shaping not just what you can buy, but how you think, and maybe, just maybe, how you vote. Well, we're about to see just how deep that rabbit hole goes. So, we're going to peel this whole topic back like an onion. We'll start with the basics, what money even is, then dive into the wild psychology of our financial brains. And finally, we'll get to some really fascinating research that uncovers a surprising link between money and our political beliefs. All right, first things first, before we can get into how a concept like money can influence something as big as politics, we've got to get on the same page about what we're even talking about. Because, it's way more than just paper and metal. At its most basic level, money is a tool. It's this brilliant solution to a super old problem called the coincidence of wants. See, in a barter system, if you have chickens and you want bread, you have to find a baker who happens to be craving chickens at that exact moment. Yeah, good luck. Money solves all that. It's basically a universally accepted IOU that lets us trade with anyone for anything, anytime. And for this whole system to work, this tool has to wear 4 different hats. It's a medium of exchange. That's just you buying your morning coffee. It's a store of value, so you can save up your money without it going bad, to buy a car later. It's a unit of account, a handy yardstick that tells us a laptop is worth more than a t-shirt. And finally, it's a standard of deferred payment, which is the bedrock for loans, mortgages, and all that future planning stuff. Okay, so that's money, the tool, but here's where it gets really, really interesting. Because the second that tool gets inside our heads, it stops being this purely logical, rational thing. It turns out our brains are packed with all these weird shortcuts and biases that have a huge impact on our financial lives. And this quote from Antoinette Shore at MIT just nails it, doesn't it? We can totally understand, on an intellectual level, what the smart financial move is, but our emotions, our habits, our anxieties, they often grab the steering wheel. It's not about what you know, it's about what you do. Psychologists talk about this using a 2-system model for the brain. You've got your reflective system. That's your slow, deliberate, analytical self. But then you have the automatic system. Fast, intuitive, and running on pure instinct. And guess which one is running the show 99% of the time? Yeah, for most of our daily money choices, we're on autopilot, using that faster and way more error-prone system. And that autopilot brain relies on all these mental shortcuts that can totally lead us astray. There's angering, right? That's where the first price you see for a car kind of sets the bar for everything else. There's loss aversion, the reason why losing $50 feels way, way worse than the joy of finding $50 feels good. And we all suffer from status quo bias, which is basically our brain's lazy desire to just not change anything, even if a change would be for the better. These aren't character flaws. It's just how we're wired. So let's put this together. If money isn't just a neutral tool and our brains are not these perfect, rational calculators, well, that leads to a really specific and pretty wild scientific question. Can something as simple as a reminder of money actually mess with our deepest held beliefs? Let's just put it right out there. Seriously, could just thinking about money or even just seeing a picture of it actually shift your political compass? A team of researchers decided they wanted to find out for sure. And the technique they used to test this is called money priming. It's kind of sneaky, actually. The whole idea is to get people thinking about money without them even realizing it's part of the experiment. So you might have them unscramble sentences that have words like salary or cash, or maybe you just have some pictures of currency lying around the room. It's subtle. Now, the researchers had 2 big ideas on the table. The first was the main effect hypothesis. Pretty simple. Money makes us more self-interested, so reminding people of it should, in general, nudge them to the right, politically. But then there was the moderation hypothesis, a much more nuanced idea. It proposed that the effect isn't the same for everybody. It actually depends on how you see your own position on the social ladder. So, which one was it? To get a really solid answer, they didn't just do one experiment. They ran 7 different studies and then pooled all the results together in what's called a meta-analysis. And the findings were, well, they were definitely not what most people would expect. First off, that simple idea, it was a bust. The main effect hypothesis just didn't hold up. Looking across all 7 studies, there was no consistent proof that reminding people about money automatically makes them more right-wing. So just seeing a dollar bill is not going to instantly change your vote. The real story, it turns out, is a lot more complicated. And that complication all comes down to this one crucial thing: subjective socioeconomic status, or SES. Now, this isn't about how much money you actually have. It's about your perception of where you stand. In these studies, they'd show people a ladder with 10 rungs and say, where do you belong in society? And that answer, how people saw themselves, turned out to be the absolute key. Let's just look at the raw data for a second. See that top row? The main effect wasn't significant. It was a wash. But look at that second line, the interaction effect. That's the one that factors in a person's perceived social status. And the result is what scientists call marginally significant. So what does that mean in plain English? It means there's a real signal in the noise. It's not a giant flashing neon sign, but it's definitely pointing in a very, very interesting direction. And this is it. This is what that signal was. This chart shows the finding perfectly. For people who saw themselves on the higher rungs of that social ladder, being reminded of money tended to nudge their political views more to the right. But, and this is wild, for people who placed themselves on the lower rungs, the effect was the complete opposite. Reminders of money actually shifted them more to the left. So the big takeaway here is that money's influence is not some simple on-off switch. It doesn't affect everyone the same way. Instead, it acts like a lens or an amplifier. It interacts with our deep-seated identity, our perceived place in the world, and intensifies the political views that align with that identity. And that kind of leaves us with one last huge question to chew on, doesn't it? If something as seemingly harmless as a picture of a coin or the word salary can have this kind of complex effect on something as personal as our politics, what other invisible forces are out there, all around us, quietly shaping our reality every single day?